Some of them are, I won't say obscure carriers, but like carriers that we use less. Sometimes I'll get a notice. I'm like, hey, this agent has this much debt. It's going to roll to you soon if if they don't make a payment. And I'll reach out to that agent and I'll be like, hey, can you make sure you get something set up? And for them, they're just like, oh, I didn't even know I had it. So instead of working twice as hard to be able to make that money, why don't you just try to allocate your time and your resources and the effort that you put into the carriers that'll give you a bonus.
Their method was to have the simplicity in it. Like, it's a one-stop shop. They came out before they partnered with FFL to have all these products available. They got the term, they got the whole life. You could buy just tons of leads, put it in the system where you got their email and send out the Ethos link. Hey, filled out an ad, trying to reach you, can't get a hold of you.
So thanks for joining this week on the Elite Sales Podcast. Joined in the studio this week by John Baccaron.
How we doing?
Today we're going to get into a little bit about the Ethos 25% bonus for the month of November, which is a pretty big deal. So we're going to get into ways of using that.
Okay.
Before we start that, what we're going to talk about today is we're talking about your unchecked ego.
Hey.
Yeah, that's right. Your unchecked ego and your overconfidence in certain areas, certain aspects. If you feel like this is a personal attack, it's a little bit, but then again, I'm referring to myself, I'm referring to John, I'm referring to Bryce, I'm referring to everybody. So what I mean by your ego being unchecked is that I think sometimes we all get a little mired in our process, and then we just think we get stuck in knowing what we know and then just continuing on down that path. You agree?
Yeah, I can see that.
So
going back to unchecked, if it's unchecked, you just, whatever you're feeling, you keep feeling.
Right.
If you're feeling yourself, you keep feeling yourself.
And that often comes from lack of outside influence or lack of, accountability with anybody else. Because the thing is, we just tend to believe we're right. Right. And because we have no other reason to believe otherwise most of the time, So the reason why I thought about this was because I started a new book. It's called Think Again, The Power of Knowing What You Don't Know, which is by Adam Grant.
Okay.
So he was talking about us opening our minds up to rethinking certain things and when it's the right time to rethink things. Now, the thing is, ego is usually the thing that prevents us from being able to rethink in different ways, because we just assume whatever route that we're going down, whichever path we're going, it's correct. Mm-hmm. Right? So actually wanted to go over one of the examples that he talked about. You guys all remember BlackBerry?
Yeah.
Remember the BlackBerry phones, smartphones?
They're good.
I really enjoyed mine. I liked mine. So it had the hard keyboard, and it was built more for emails, really business oriented. Yeah. When it first started, and then I had friends that were in finance and different professional jobs, and I'm like, oh, we got a BlackBerry. He's serious, right? So BlackBerry was was the cool thing, especially back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
So did you guys know that the CEO, the founder, was a guy named Mike Lazaridis? Lazaridis. So anyway, so he created BlackBerry, and he just thought, okay, this is the route that we're going to go. So early in 1997, he had a couple of his top engineers asking him, hey, do you think we should do like a web browser?
Okay.
Should we put the internet on here? So he was like, no, we're going to focus mainly on email because it's all about productivity. The hard key buttons. Like this is how people get done. So they're like almost like at a computer to be able to like do their emails
right
while they're away. Keeps productivity on the go. They just feel like very in touch with their business. Okay. So in '97 they brought that idea up, and then he just said, no, it's fine. So by the time it hit like 2009, BlackBerry was doing really well. They had about 56% of the market share as far as smartphones go. Mm-hmm. There are other ones that are out there, like Nokia started coming out with one. I had the Palm Trio. There was a iPhone first iteration of iPhone came out around 2014 or so, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, they recommended these changes, and then he just said refused and just said, no, we're just gonna stick with what we got. Okay, because they dominated the market share, 56%. as far as all the other smartphones available. When it came to 2007, Apple started gaining. So then the iPhone started to kind of increase in the marketplace. So then at that point in 2000, by the time 2007 came around, they were like, "Hey, we really think you should add in a web browser." And he was like, "No, we don't need to add anything. Our brand is popular. Celebrities use us.
Yeah.
Businesses use us. Top influence people of influence happen to use us. Politicians use us. We don't need to change a thing. Our brand is going to stand on our brand." So by the time 2009 comes around, they were still at about 56% or so. By 5 years later, 2014, they were less than 1% of the market share.
Done.
Right. And then now, I think it's completely defunct. So the thing is, they filed for bankruptcy a while back. And I think earlier this year, I read an article saying that they no longer provide service for these phones. So it's entirely a defunct business. Mm-hmm. So, that's one of the things where clearly, like, the new information was coming in, new opinions were being formulated in terms of that particular industry. And then the Mike Lazaridis, I don't know if I'm saying it right. I guess it doesn't really matter at this point. He just refused to do it because he had a successful product. He was a victim of his past success and just wanted to continue down that same path. So even though he had people within his company telling him, "Hey, you should change," even though there's market influences on the outside, like if you're paying attention to what the industry is doing, and you're choosing to not make any changes, what is the reason for that?
You're ignorant at a certain point, right?
Overconfident.
Yeah.
The guy was just entirely overconfident, just thinking what used to work is going to continue to work and will always work.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the lessons that we need to pick up along the way. And, and the reason for him is clearly there was an ego involved in his situation because he had so much of the market share prior and just thinking, well, if it's worked before, like, we don't need to change. The consumers need to change around us. The marketplace needs to change around us. Hope you're enjoying the video so far. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, anything to help support the algorithm so we can continue to bring you more valuable content and continue to be part of your lives. Also, if you don't feel that it's providing you that much support since you're already at this point, like and subscribe anyway.
And it's funny enough, so before I did insurance for like 15, 16 years, I sold cell phones. So from college, going to college until I graduated, from 03 to 08, I was selling cell phones.
I remember.
So I was with Verizon, T-Mobile, and basically a broker for T-Mobile and Verizon. And then, funny enough, when iPhone came out, AT&T Singular was the only carrier that was able to sell the iPhone first.
Right.
And so, dude, not just BlackBerry, but people were losing business from that carrier, from T-Mobile, Verizon, to Singular AT&T because the Apple iPhone came out to be the first product that's all touchscreen. No keyboards or anything, right?
Right.
So from the market standpoint, it wasn't just about being in business. You got to look at the product of what all the products can cater to and all the features it can have. And to just have that big ego of having the 56% market share of just the business people, dude, he didn't even look at the whole entire public. Like, who are the new individuals getting a new phone? Well, new teenagers, once their parents gave them the green light to get a new phone or cell phone, were buying it for their kids. They're not going to use it for the cell phones. Cell phones for business, right? So he just lost out on so much money. It's hard to rebound from that.
Right. And that's actually a good point. At a certain point after, like, around 2008, 2009, his top engineers were like, "Do you think we should transition and start doing a touchscreen?"
Yeah.
And he was just like, "No, people like the keyboard. I like the keyboard. Let's just keep." Like, he's like, and then like he even said, "I'd rather keep it more about the email because people don't want to carry a little computer in their pocket. That, like, no one's going to want that." So, which is like the whole thing of like iPhones. Which, that technology progressed so quickly because I remember I was a proud BlackBerry owner before.
Yeah.
And I actually really loved it because this was back in the days when I was irresponsible and immature. But around the time when I used to date like several girls at the same time, I would just be able to just text and not have to look up. And like I knew where all the keys were, so I was able to drive and text at the same time, which I don't do anymore. But it's something that people are just familiar and comfortable with.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, you're just thinking things will continue to stay the same. But one thing we know in life, things are always going to keep changing, right?
Yeah.
So what keeps us from being able to think or be able to move forward? I mean, we brought it up a couple of times. It's ego.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the times people aren't able to rethink. They just think what they think, but they can't rethink and reconsider alternatives. It's because oftentimes the ego prevents you from even thinking in the first place.
Well, I would say the ego prevents you from even listening to the next person saying something else. Right. That's not in your same notion, right?
Yeah. So if someone's telling you otherwise, even as they're talking, you're just thinking like, yeah. Whenever you finish talking, I'm just gonna tell you, I know what I'm doing. I know more than you, or I've had more success than you have. Yeah, I don't need to hear it from you.
Yeah.
So the ego gets in the way, but then a lot of times, like, as far as the ego, it also subconsciously shuts you down in a lot of different ways. Because the thing is, you can start recognizing little things about your business, like my activity's down. I'm not getting the same level of production that I once did. Other people have been telling me like, hey, you should have this much activity, but then I don't have it. So what do people do in those situations?
So the smart thing would be to reflect back on like, okay, what was happening? When I used to have a lot of activities, how many hours was I putting into it? Like how many dials, how many presentations? So I would track based on numbers. So I personally don't like using emotions and feelings, right? I want to use numbers to track things because there's no ego involved in there. There's no feelings involved in there. I would have done that. But sometimes, you start reflecting and thinking about the current situation that happened, and you're blaming things, and it's all about feelings instead of numbers.
Right. Yeah, and that's lacking a system to be able to track these things. Because so the thing is, if you still continue to focus on your emotions and let that be your driving force in your business, it could take you a lot of different ways. Because I'm sure the founder of BlackBerry, he thought my ego's fine. Like I've had success. Like I'm going to continue down the same way. But what actually prevents a lot of us from being able to actually to think or even rethink that we need to rethink is the fact that people find a way to dissociate as soon as they start hitting tough times. So as soon as your night's done, some people take a couple puffs. They have a couple drinks. They get on their Xbox and PlayStation 2 and 3 PlayStation. I don't know.
It's 5 now. PS5.
I'm that far behind.
PlayStation 3 is like 15 years ago.
So whatever version of PlayStation. So the thing is, people get on the game all night and then they find a distraction to keep themselves from focusing on their problem.
Yeah.
So oftentimes, even though you have the capacity to rethink, the thing is your brain's telling you, what do I do? Everything except for rethinking, because it's probably not the most fun thing to do. It's you'll have to challenge yourself. You have to acknowledge that there's something to change, and then to recognize that sometimes it's work.
Yeah, it's discomfort.
Yes.
Yeah, you just go back to what you were doing. You plug in, you plug out, and once you're plugged out, you ease it into it.
Right.
And so thinking and then reestablishing or maybe even doing a new type of system or method, that's a lot of work, right?
Absolutely. So I mean, if there's anyone out there that actually has written an ethos policy, if you guys have any feedback, I'd love to hear from you guys. But we're so focused on a lot of different carriers. Us being brokers, we're very fortunate to be like, hey, I have all these different options. I can write all these different carriers, but is it always in your best interest?
Half sometimes. The client's interest in yours, or which
you as an agent?
Which one?
I mean, the client's interest. Sure. I mean, it makes no difference to them because the thing is, they're getting whatever you show them.
Right.
You can present the options, be like, hey, I have all these different carriers, which that's probably not the best way to do things anyway because it overwhelms the client. Mm. It gives them too many options and they become overwhelmed, but don't make a decision.
Right. They get paralyzed and they tell you, I'll call you back. I'm going to mull this over.
Right. Plus, if you tell them I have this many options, they're like, well, I don't want to choose the wrong thing. And, let me keep looking around for other places. And, it's like the in and out model, right? It's just like very few options. Just make it really good.
Yeah. Pick 1, 2, 3. And then if you do want to customize, they do it on the side.
Right.
Yeah. Simple. So
when it comes to having all these different options, I think we're we think it's a good thing, but sometimes, especially when you're new, it actually could overwhelm the client. It overwhelms the agent, because a lot of times, agents start reaching out to me like, hey, how about this carrier? How about this carrier? How about this carrier? I'm like, in terms of the differences, it's not that distinguishable. It's not really. It might be a couple bucks off here and there. Some might have a few more features here, but less features there. But in reality, if you just decided, I'm gonna stick with this one, these two, these three different carriers, you really can't go wrong. So, for me, I've always been preaching Americo, Prosperity, AIG, strictly for the simplicity of, look, we can get instant decision on every single one, get paid faster, get the client approved. You have less follow-up, so it's less work.
Right.
But also, comp is good. And all three of those products, they serve a particular area of insurance if you need to get them insured. And then, more importantly, they all have a bonus. Mm-hmm. So we talked about trying to get agents paid the most and just make it the most worthwhile for you to be able to write business. Because the thing is, we've been dealing with a little bit of recently just having to deal with just checking persistency, checking agents' quality, checking chargebacks, all this other stuff.
Yeah,
it's work for us.
Yeah, and then you're dealing with carriers and follow-ups, and okay, so you wrote one bad business here, now it's gonna fall off, now it's gonna roll up, and then now you got to deal with the agent. What do you do with the agent?
Right.
Do we put him on ass earn? Do we want him to pay it? Do we terminate? It's a lot of work.
Yeah, and some of them are, I won't say obscure carriers, but like carriers that we use less. Sometimes I'll get a notice. I'm like, hey, this agent has this much debt. It's going to roll to you soon if if they don't make a payment. And I'll reach out to that agent, and I'll be like, hey, can you make sure you get something set up? And then for them, they're just like, oh, I didn't even know I had it. And I'm like,
so they even check.
I'm like, exactly, because you don't write business with them regularly. You're way less likely to check with them. So why not focus all your business on two or three main ones?
Yeah.
So, Americo, Prosperity, AIG, that's going to be something that we're going to continue to push just because of the simplicity of it. Love all of our other options, love all of our other carriers, but until they make an instant decision, they pay us as much in bonuses. Let's stick with the ones that make us the most money. Mm-hmm. If there's certain situations that don't cover it, then you can go with the other ones. But let's go over the Ethos bonus. The Ethos bonus?
Yeah. Pull it up. There's something brand new. It's nice.
So we've had a couple of, so Americo, just to recap, there's three that we're talking about. Americo, 10% bonus every 6 months.
Yeah. Prosperity,
quarterly bonuses, 10% for the first month, but if every quarter you do it consecutively, it moves up to 12%, then 13%, then 15%, right? And then 15% consecutively if you don't qualify one quarter, then it drops back down to 10, and then you got to start over again. But let's try to preach consistency, and that's 25,000 minimum to qualify for Prosperities. For Americo's 6 months, the qualifications 56.
It keeps going up. 54, 55,
something like that. Yeah, 55,000. Let's just say.
Yeah.
Okay. And then with AIG, we use them for guaranteed issue and SIWL, Simplified Issue Whole Life, which we had Brendan Quinn at the sales conference, really helpful. So their bonus is $2,500 if you do 10 apps within
the end of the year. Yeah. So you still have 2 months.
Yep. So those are the main ones. So 10%, 15%, $2,500 bonus, all pretty cool. Now when I saw Ethos's bonus that just came out the other day, I was like, is there a mistake here?
It's crazy.
So the bonus, go ahead and.
So just for November, right?
Just for November.
Well, besides the iPad bonus, I think it's still going on. I think it might be done.
I got mine. Just got my iPad.
It was the first 100 apps sold with the IUL product, right? And if you sold within the first 100, they send you an iPad. How was it? Turned on?
I mean, it works.
Okay, it works. So it's legit.
I already have an iPad, so I more just wanted to win it just because we're doing it.
Got you an iPad. But right now in November, you have a supercharged 25% November bonus. So qualification is just from the first couple of days ago to November 30th. Any Ethos product, basically, the Prime, the Spectrum, the Term Policy, the True Stage, the Advantage Whole Life, not including the IUL, right? Just the main set. All you got to do is the minimum of $2,500 in AP. 2,500 AP. Okay, they got to stick around, of course. They got to go pass through a 30-day free look period so the client doesn't cancel, and the policy is maintained for 3 months. So you can't just write up an app and then cancel it and make it count. Right. Minimum 2,500 AP, and you're getting a 25% bonus on that. It's unlimited.
Yeah. I even had to double check with Brett. I called him up. I'm like, hey, is this right?
Right.
Like I feel like this is an issue. Like I feel like you guys have misprint this. Like I was like, this is misleading.
Dude, what's 25% of $2,500? It's like $650 or something, right?
Right. I mean, well, let's just take it from this perspective. You're doing this full time. We always say what you should be shooting for is to help 20 families in a month.
Right.
If you help 20 families in a month, that's a $5,000 bonus.
Yeah.
Right. So
just on ethos alone, if you're on 20.
Yeah. Now there's a couple of caveats there. The thing is, these have to be the level coverages. So it can't be it has to be the ethos term life, prime, and spectrum, the true stage, advantage, whole life. If they get graded or if they go to the guaranteed issue, if it gets rerouted to one of the other ones, it doesn't qualify towards this 25%. You'll still get paid, and it'll still count towards your total production, but doesn't count towards this 25% November bonus.
Okay.
So now, if we're going back to rethinking things and trying if you're actually trying to maximize on this bonus, for those that celebrate Christmas and holidays and all this stuff, it's coming around the corner, right?
Yeah.
So instead of working twice as hard to be able to make that money, why don't you just try to allocate your time and your resources and the effort that you put into the carriers that'll give you a bonus?
Yeah.
Right.
And then how do you maximize this? So Albert asked earlier, raise of hands, how many people have written ethos? And if you haven't raised your hand, why have you not? So that there's one main reason. You probably haven't even looked at it.
Right.
So let's just start back from the beginning. You guys know everyone that's licensed has an ethos account. You have an agent dashboard. All you got to do is go to agent.ethos.com, right? ethoslife.com.
Yep.
Go to your main website. You plug in your 10-digit phone number. They'll send you a two-factor authentication. You plug in your 6 codes. There's no login. That's your login. You put in your phone number, sends you a text, put that 6-number digit in. You're in your dashboard. In your dashboard, you have an invite code. You could just send your invite code to get this bonus to any and all of your leads. You can literally put your clients' emails. If you have a fresh lead, they got an email, you can plug them in. You can just let Ethos do the work. They'll advertise for them.
That's a great way to start.
Easy money. So why haven't we been doing it? We just don't know about Ethos. We think we could sell better with our ego. We could sell better without Ethos. But we have a lot of clients that don't pick up, man.
Ton. How many times have you guys been calling through your list of leads and just the same number over and over again? This person never picks up.
Right. Tons. Like you could do 200 dials, maybe you'll speak to 5 to 10, right?
Right.
20 if you're lucky.
Yeah, I mean, you'll probably talk to 20-25% of them.
Yeah. So that's 75% plus.
Yeah.
If you buy aged leads, which, you save some money buying aged leads, but how many of those aged leads pick up? Right? So it's an opportunity, especially for like the term. Maybe we should just run down some term, like what are the benefits of using this versus the other to get more people involved in it? Because I just think that there's a lack of knowledge, lack of learning from the new thing or the new product for them to actually see that it's a worthwhile benefit for them.
Right. I mean, plus, I get a lot of calls throughout the day from agents that need help with certain they're in a home and there's like, hey, what product should I show? But then I'm always like, or they're like, hey, this person got declined with this. What should I show next? Yeah. It's always the same product. And I'm like, why do you keep showing the same product? Like
they don't know anything else.
Yeah, it's like, and you're getting them declined. It's like, what are we doing here? So I mean, like,
way to be a broker.
Which I mean, look, everyone's got their learning process, and I look at these opportunities because it helps me learn too. I'm just like, is this what people are focusing on? So I mean, I think people focus with what they're familiar with,
right?
Because they just think like, oh, I'm just gonna keep it that simple. So I'm telling you, if you're trying to keep it simple, let's keep it simple with the ones that have a strategic advantage for you.
Yeah.
If it's its decision on the pre-check, you don't have to go through the entire application. They'll tell you probably not going to qualify. Move on.
Right.
So Ethos will also do that too. I mean, Ethos. I wouldn't say to lead with Ethos. Sorry, Brett. Because there's other carriers that'll pay you a little bit more. That Americo, Prosperity have that bonus. So you want to try to lead with those. But for the sake of this bonus for the month of November, if you're already at that point where you're about to hit that threshold, and the client's going to qualify for a level plan because they're healthy, that they should have no problems with qualifying for Ethos. Why not start with that? Build up your bonus, strategically build that up, and then at the end of the month, hey, extra bonus, 25%, whatever your total annual premium is with those products.
Yeah, I think Ethos, their method was to have the simplicity in it. Like, it's a one-stop shop. They came out before they partnered with FFL to have all these products available. They got the term, they got the whole life. If one declines, it moves on to the next one, to where you just, the simplest parts, you send the link to the client, they get, simplified. They either qualified for the term, it'll recommend term or whole life for them.
Right.
And if they don't qualify, it'll, move them down to the next stage. And then the IUL came out because that's what we recommended that they're missing. So it's a one-stop shop.
Well, just a reminder, the IUL does not go into this particular contest. So I wrote an IUL that does not count towards it, but it's the month of November anyway.
Yeah.
But you actually sign up for your own policy.
Right.
So the thing is, that's the same thing a client would get. So if you just gave a client your link, they went on there, they started clicking on, it'll start asking them, what are your insurable interests? What do you need to cover? They'll actually make recommendations for you, right?
Right.
Because you went and looking for something, they recommend something else.
No. So when you start clicking the link, let's say you want to start and find your quotes. You can either, as the agent, you can send a quote already. You can create a quote for the client, or you can just send the link to the client, and then once they click it, it'll do some questions. So you could do one or the other. So one of the questions is, what are you looking to protect? Okay, do you have a mortgage? Do you have kids? What's your annual salary? So they'll tabulate that. They'll look into your mortgage. They'll look into your salary. They recommend like 10 times your salary. So they upsell you, of course. And then they look into how many kids you got and all that stuff. So once it does that, it'll tell you, we recommend 20 years or 30 years for this much. And then it's just a bar with a little line, and you can maneuver it to the right, to the left, to go up or down on your premium and your coverage amount. So it'll say, this is what you recommend, and then you can choose what you still want, and then you move forward. Application-wise, once they do so, they do like a mini little underwriting for you, ask you the questions, and then you get an answer on the spot right there. Before they go into the payment plan, before the payments at the end, before the beneficiary and all that. So you already know what you're qualifying for from then on.
Right.
So, simple.
So for the term policy, I think with the guaranteed issue, the client has to go through themselves.
I think you get an answer first as the agent. It'll say, hey, guide them to the next part, because of course it doesn't tell them, hey, you applied for $1 million term. Here's $20,000. So they do want an agent kind of like explaining what happened. What's the situation for it?
But I mean, if you send the client the link, so they can do it all themselves, or you can treat it like a regular carrier that we normally have. You can run the quote for them, present it to them, do the entire application for them. So you have flexibility in that regard.
Yeah. You have the ability, put it this way, with Ethos, you have the ability to sell and make money without speaking to the client.
Right.
That's what's crazy about it. You could buy just tons of leads, put it in the system where you got their email, and send out the Ethos link. Hey, you filled out an ad. We're trying to reach you. Can't get a hold of you. You want to get a quick quote, and you get a response from Ethos saying, hey, somebody opened up your link. Somebody started an app. And then you can do a follow-up on it, too. So now you can figure out which one's a hot lead or not.
Derek, are you able to unmute real quick?
Yes, I am.
Didn't you say you sent out an Ethos link and someone signed up for themselves or something?
Yeah, a couple things in automations that I have. Like if they're being difficult with medical information or whatever, I'm just go, hey, look, there's this really cool carrier that allows you to do all this without speaking to me, and you can see that it's directly into their website. So I think 2 people have actually started their application, and then, like you guys were mentioning, Ethos will take over and get them all situated with all their marketing materials.
Yeah, even better too, to add to that. So Ethos protects you as the agent and agent on the account up to 6 months. So Ethos has customer service care. So let's say if I send it to Derek, and then Derek started the app, kind of like what your clients are, but they kind of held up on it. If it's being held up, you get a notification from Ethos dashboard saying, hey, follow up with your client. But they have customer care service that will call onto your client for you and try to complete that app up to 6 months. And if they complete it within the first 6 months, you get credit on that. As long as they did something, they started something.
Yeah, if they initiated it based off of your link and then they didn't finish it for whatever reason, an Ethos rep will reach out to them and be like, hey, we saw that you started an application, like to help you push it through. Which, I mean, I think sometimes a couple agents have been like, hey, is there another agent trying to steal my business?
Yeah, got that.
Where in reality, it actually was just an Ethos rep was just trying to push it along because if they want to finish the app too, it has no value to anybody. But the thing is, if they complete that application based off of your initial link, you still get credit for it.
Yeah, and they're fast. Like, they're fast to pay out. You're talking about like 24, 48 hours. They can pay you the same day. How fast did you get paid on yours?
Yeah, I finished the app at the LA Sales Conference because we were held up on a couple of different things. Finished the app, boom, finished it. Got the statement the same within a couple of minutes. So then I got paid the next day.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's just a lack of knowledge or maybe a lack of ego, I would say, that we're not using an extra tool to make money for us.
Plus, I mean, one thing I'll say is that it makes your job for underwriting so much easier because you really don't need to know that much.
You don't got to ask anything.
Yeah, you don't need to ask anything because they're already going to find whatever data that they need through the social or whatever means that they pick up the information, and then it'll tell them, looks like they'll qualify or looks like they won't.
Yeah.
And then you move on from there.
Yeah, it's simple.
So yeah, keep working on applying that. On top of that, with the term policy, if you're looking for just straight term, if you're looking for term or return to premium, that's not offered yet.
Yeah.
So that's not an option. But as far as like just regular level term for the next 10, 20, 30 years, it's pretty competitive, right?
Oh yeah, it's cheap. So I mean, I bought my policy. I got $1 million policy for 20 years when I had the second kid. She's one, so I did it right before she was born. But at 36, 38 now, I think 37 or 36, bought it $1 million for $50 a month. For 20 years though. So 30 years would have been a lot. Forget about 30. Kid's grown by then.
Not your problem anymore.
Yeah, she's an adult by then. She'll be good. But it's very competitive, and it pays you on your own policy, which is kind of a good and a bad thing because we just don't want people abusing the system because it does pay full advance.
Well, I think it's 9 months for the IUL.
Yeah, 9 months on IUL, but all these term products and whole life products, they're paying you 100% advance, your whole AP in it. But they also charge you back all of it whenever it cancels.
So get a policy for yourself if you plan on keeping it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, don't.
Don't abuse it.
But yeah, I mean, so there's that. True Stage has gone up 30% in terms of comp. So then, before that was one of the sticking points. All the other final expense plans were just, comp just wasn't there. So like, if you could go elsewhere, but now it's 30 points increased. So I mean, that's another option. So term, final expense, like let's maximize that 25% bonus for the month of November. And then I just want to finish with this. We're gonna keep today short.
Oh, before you finish, then let me add. True Stage, for those that don't know, they can go up to 50,000 whole life. So you have some limitations: 40, 35, this and that, medical issues. You can get them up to 50,000 on that
For whole life.
Yeah. So it might not be cheap, but I mean, if clients want more, and instead of you having to double up on 2 underwriting, 2 policies, that's worth a visit.
How old, what age range is for a term?
The term?
18 to 60?
I think max is 60 on the term.
Okay.
Yeah. But $50K, there's not a lot of products that are available for that.
No.
Yeah.
Well, there's the IUL product too, which is a permanent coverage, not a whole life, but
usually, you're doing True Stage because they have medical issues because they've fallen down from the term. So for an unhealthy individual up to 50,000, there's a lot of products available for that, or a lot of clients looking for that.
Although if they got dropped down to rerouted to True Stage, probably not going to qualify for that level,
or not qualify for the IUL.
Yeah,
but still, there's $50K that they can still get. Yeah. That's being unhealthy.
And you did some took some good notes. I mean, anything else?
No. Oh, there's the free estate planning and stuff. It's kind of like a materials for you for them, almost like setting up your own living trust. I didn't do any of those. I got the email. I'm like, I forget it, man. You died, dude. There's $1 million. What's there for them to do in estate planning? Take the money.
Well, you can set conditions where they can't receive the money if they do this or they don't do this.
You're God, man. Peace. But yeah, there's a lot of cool things in there. Last part that if you do want to sell it, it's still not allowed to do telesale. You still have to do it in person, or not in person, but with the client.
Right.
So because the reason why is the liability of seeing the illustration, right? You have to show the illustration. So aside from that, I mean, the rest of them, you can send us a link and sell.
Right. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to add before I wrap it up, as far as the sharing the link for the ethos, so the client can write their own policy and take care of everything themselves without you having to do anything and getting paid for it. Obviously, there is the text message that you can kind of create for you. You go through your list of leads, all the people that never pick up. You have an email address for them. You can shoot them a text or shoot them an email. Send it over to them and be like, "Hey, been trying to reach you, haven't been able to have any luck. Here's a link. If you don't want to be bothered by an agent, but you still need insurance, run through here. You can sign everything up for yourself. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me then." So you can do that.
Yeah, and then also the link works with you or without you sharing it. So I've had it to a point where I sold an individual. I sent him my link and I asked him for referrals. Hey, if you think of anybody else that want to buy the same life insurance term like as you, just send him my link for me. And then they shared it and they're like, okay, so you can get referrals from it without you doing anything. And then she said, hey, my friend might sign up. I don't know if it did or not, but she shared the link at least. So I'll think about that.
Isaiah just asked, does ethos term come with living benefits?
Not that we know of yet. No, it's not a selling point.
Okay. But their terms, they're cheap.
Pretty cheap.
It's really competitive.
Yeah.
And also, like I'm. This is just an idea. I mean, I'm creating like a landing page. Derek and I are working some marketing stuff, so then it was just like, hey, you don't want to deal with agents? Me neither. Here, click on this link. You can do everything yourself to get an insurance policy. So there's just a couple ideas for you to be able to further expand your ability to be able to utilize this product if you really do care about maximizing that 25% bonus. If making that 25% bonus or making money doesn't move the needle for you either way, then I guess keep doing what you're doing. I assume winning, but more likely than not, even if you are winning, the reality is, look, if nothing else you take away from this is we need to constantly keep being in a thinking state, not in a thinking state in which we're paralyzed by thinking or overthinking to the point in which we're gun shy to make any moves. But we always need to be thinking about our business actively and then be ready to rethink, because just recognize our overconfidence can definitely be a major hindrance in our ability to be able to not only grow, but it could be a major hindrance in our ability to be able to just survive in the business. New data comes out, new information comes out. If you actually think like a scientist, this is the major thing. I mean, in the book they talked about the main way that most people think. There's three main ways. Okay, how we currently already think, like a preacher, like a prosecutor, and like a politician. Right. As far as the way that a preacher is, they're trying to preserve the way that their beliefs and trying to preserve that. So they're trying to evangelize to others, promote it, and protect it.
So they're sharing their beliefs.
They're sharing their beliefs, but there's no flexibility for them to change what their beliefs are, because obviously it's a very faith-based thing. Yeah. So if you're a preacher, then that's what you got to focus on. You're not changing your way of doing things. Second thing is a prosecutor. With a prosecutor, your whole job is to try to prove the other side wrong. Right? So you'll go to any length to just try to prove the other side wrong. So then you're inflexible in that, because you can't be wrong, because your whole existence and your whole goal there is to prove that the other side is wrong. And then finally, the politician, they're flexible because they just need to maintain their base, because they need to have everyone agree with them, everyone like them, right? So, or at least their voting base anyway. So those are the three ways that we currently think. The way for us to get out of that, to be able to force or allow ourselves to be able to rethink, to be able to stay agile and continue to make the adaptations within our business is we got to think like a scientist. Okay, so a scientist actually wants to be wrong at certain times. So the thing is, obviously, clearly, you have a hypothesis, you have an idea of how something should work, but then you're actually tracking everything because you're actually saying, okay, well, this data came in that's inconsistent with what my overall hypothesis is.
Right.
Let me try to create a new one. Let me try to formulate a new hypothesis. Oh, maybe this is it, and then you can continue to move. So then, that actually shows people. They did a case study in which people continue to maintain their old ways of being a preacher, being a politician, being a prosecutor. They got stuck in their ability to be able to grow their business. For the people that treated their business like a scientist, they had a control group, and they had people that treated their business like a scientist. Their growth was over 200% more than the original group.
That's huge.
That's massive, and it's all because they were okay with being wrong to a certain degree, right? So I think sometimes we just need to fight our ego, or at least at the very least be cognizant of the fact that we do have that ego that blocks us sometimes, or we have that ego that prevents us from thinking about our business the right way. So if I'm not saying to just constantly keep changing direction, being like, oh, this doesn't work, let me go try doing something else. Let me go try a different job. Look around your industry. Are there people making money? Look around your industry. Are there people growing? Look around your industry. Are there people, having success within certain aspects in which you're struggling? If the answer is no one's having any success, you should probably quit. Okay? But the thing is, if other people are making it, other people are making a lot of money, other people have shown a lot of growth, they're not anything special. The only thing is they've been able to think about their business in a different light. They've been able to be flexible. They've been able to keep working until they figured out what it is that worked for them. So, not saying that everyone has the same answer, because how your risk tolerance, your personality, your communication skills, all these things are variables. So it's not like one simple path takes everyone the same route. Plus, on top of that, not everyone wants to do the same thing. Like, some people want to grow a business, some people want to personally produce, some people want to just work as little as possible and just get by.
Yeah.
So whatever your particular individual growth, your individual plan is, just keep rethinking as you go along. Just keep paying attention. Don't let ego get in the way. And if you can do that, you can actually try to maximize your growth. So I'm saying right now, Miracle Prosperity AIG, start with these. For the sake of this bonus, if you guys care about that 25% bonus, try to incorporate some ethos into it. If you don't care about the bonus, Miracle AIG Prosperity, continue to stick with that. Cool. So hopefully that helped. I mean, find a way to continue to rethink. Thinking is important, but ability to be able to rethink, it's more important if you want to stay continuously growing.
Yeah.
Yep. Anything else to add?
No. Just think about your business. If you're not, if it's too hard for you to think about the business, let's just do a one-on-one, have a conversation. We'll ask the questions, you answer.
Right.
So you don't have to think, you just have to respond. And then this will come in clarity of like, okay, so this is what's happening.
Right.
So are you getting the right results? This to know. How's your lead flow? All these questions will come in and rise for it.
Right. And that's if you care about your business and you feel like you're stuck. I mean, there's always people that you can talk to. I mean, and talk to the right people. Don't talk to someone that you're looking to if you're struggling, you're be like, I want to talk to someone that's doing worse than me, so I feel better about myself.
Right.
That's not going to help you. So, if you guys have any questions about ethos in general, or any of these products, or anything to help your business, we're here. But otherwise, you guys just try to apply these things. Let's be thoughtful, and let's continue to rethink.
Get that ethos bonus.
Appreciate y'all.
Later.
See you guys next week. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys once again for supporting. If you guys want to see more of that, please make sure you like, subscribe, click on this link here to subscribe. Click on this link for the next video.